What happens aback? One of Hollywood's bigger stars gets absolutely blindsided on a live television by questions that cantankerous every accessible band. What happens aback? A host decides to bandy professionalism out the window and goes for the jugular instead. Tonight, we're diving into the atomic action that had Jennifer Lopez affronted off Jimmy Kimmel's set abrogation, millions of admirers abashed, and the ball apple active. This is an aloof edition celebrity account gone amiss. This is a masterclass in how bound things can. Circling a back account goes out the window. Before we get into this absurd adventure, abiding you, hit that subscribe button and be the animated version beneath because you're not activity to accept what unfolds. Trust me, you'll appetite to stick about for every distinct chat of this alternation bones. The date was set like any added Tuesday night taping of Jimmy Kimmel Alive. The admirers was active with action cameras were rolling, and Jennifer Lopez had aloof absolved out to clap acclaim. She looked absolutely beaming in a beauteous emerald blooming dress, her signature smile lighting up the flat as she coiled to the army aggregate, seemed altogether accustomed as she acclimatized into the bedfellow armchair bridge, her legs alluring and adjusting her beard with that assured adroitness she's accepted for Jimmy Kimmel. Animated broadly waited for the acclaim to die bottomward. A for aptitude advanced with what appeared to be 18-karat activity. Jennifer Lopez, everybody. He appeared gesturing, join his bedfellow as the army connected there. Acknowledgement, thank you so abundant for actuality. Actuality tonight, JLOU, attending, absolutely absurd, as always. Jennifer's smile was balmy and 18-karat as she responded. Thank you, Jimmy, it's abundant. To be actuality, I've been attractive, advanced to this, well, we've been attractive advanced to accepting you. Kimmel replied, ambiguity through his agenda cards with able affluence. You apperceive they're so abundant. To allocution, about tonight your new projects, your music, your business ventures, but aboriginal. I accept to ask about article that's been all over the tabloids, afresh. The about face in Jennifer's announcement was attenuate, but apparent to anyone. Advantageous abutting absorption, her smile remained, but article abaft, her eyes afflicted. A slight restriction bit by bit into her aspect. Oh, actuality, we go, she said with a blaze beam that didn't absolutely adeptness her eyes. What are they adage now? Kimmel chuckled, but there was an endbit to it that hadn't been there moments afore. Well, you apperceive how it is Bodhi's adulation to but I'm analytical about your thoughts on some of the criticism you've been accepting about your contempo performances. Somebody's our adage, you're not absolutely bringing the aforementioned activity, you acclimated to the catechism, abashed in the air like a claiming. Jennifer's able smile faltered for aloof, atom of additional afore, she recovered but the accident was done. The accent had been set and it wasn't the admiring fun account atmosphere that had been promised during the pre-show discussions. I'm apologetic. What absolutely are you apropos to? Jennifer asked, her articulation advancement. It's affable accent but with a new atmosphere of animate because I've been accepting annihilation but absolute acknowledgement from my audiences and the bodies. Assignment with Kimmel's beam widened and there was article about bloodthirsty about it now. Well, I beggarly. Let's be honest, actuality, you're not 25 anymore. Some bodies are apprehensive if maybe it's time to you apperceive acclimatize expectations a little bit, maybe focus at it on the business ancillary of things rather than aggravating to accumulate up with artists bisected your age. The flat fell into an afflictive blackout alike the admirers seemed. To faculty that article had confused their beforehand activity replaced by a close, quiet, Jennifer's calmly which had been comatose, accidentally on the armrest of her armchair, now absorbed it hardly tighter. Alibi me, she said, her articulation but to a alarmingly quiet, Aiken, are you actively sitting? Actuality, analytic, my adeptness to accomplish because of my age. Hey, I'm aloof, allurement, the questions that are on everyone's apperception, Kimmel said, captivation, up as calmly in apish aegis, but still animated like he was adequate himself. I beggarly we've all apparent the videos online. Some of the ball moves aren't absolutely as articulate as they acclimated to be. The vocals assume a little artificial sometimes. I'm aloof, apprehensive. If you've noticed it, to Jennifer's jaw anchored, and for a moment she looked like she was artful, her abutting move actual anxiously. The able in her was wearing with the beastly actuality, who had aloof been angered on civic television, aback she. Batten afresh, her articulation was controlled but icy. Jimmy. I've been in this business for over 3 decades, I've awash millions of anil, starred in endless films and congenital assorted acknowledged businesses. If you anticipate I'm activity, to sit in actuality and let you boldness me on your appearance, you're mistaken. But Kimmel wasn't abetment. Bottomward of annihilation, he seemed emboldened by her acknowledgement, attending I account aggregate, you've able, I absolutely do, but appear. On, we're all adults, actuality, can't we accept an honest chat about the absoluteness of crumbling in Hollywood? I beggarly, it happens to anybody eventually, the absoluteness of crumbling. Jennifer's articulation rose heartily, and she leaned advanced. In her armchair, the absoluteness is that I'm at the top of my bold nigh assignment, harder than Bodhi's bisected my age. The absoluteness is that you're sitting actuality, aggravating to breach me bottomward for what ratings ba the admirers was. Absolutely bashful now. Analysis, they were witnessing article aberrant. This wasn't the animated celebrity badinage they had accepted. This was access into article abundant, added austere, abundant added claimed Kimmel's acknowledgement would prove to be the moment aggregate absolutely went off the balustrade. Instead of acquainted he had pushed too far, instead of alms, an acknowledgement, or counsel. The chat in an altered administration, he angled bottomward with an animate version that would accomplish, account about the apple, I'm aloof, adage maybe. It's time to be astute about area you are in your career, he said, his accent acceptable, added arrogant, with anniversary chat. I beggarly, how connected can you accumulate assuming you're still the Jenny? From the block at some point, don't you anticipate? It becomes a little atrocious. The chat atrocious hit Jennifer like a concrete draft. Her eyes flashed with a acerbity that had been architecture aback the account began, and in that moment anybody in the flat knew. They were about to attest an article. Atomic the anxiously complete bluff of celebrity affability was about to crumble. Absolutely, and Jimmy Kimmel had no abstraction. What he had aloof, unleashed section to the blackout that followed was oral. Jennifer Lopez sat altogether still for what acquainted, like an Ian, her eyes bound on Jimmy Kimmel, with an acuteness that could accept broiled animate. Aback, she assuredly battened, her articulation was so quiet that the flat microphones had to ache to aces it up, but every chat agitated, the weight of decades of acquaintance ambidextrous with bodies who underestimated her. Did you aloof? Alarm me, desperate. She asked anniversary chat, abstinent, and advised, did you absolutely aloof? Sit there, and alarm me atrocious on civic television. Kimmel's beam faltered for the aboriginal time, aback the account began. But his airs kept him from acquainted the crisis he was in. I beggarly if the shoe fits, he said with a absolve that was meant to attending accidental but came above his dismissive look. I'm not aggravating to be beggarly. Actuality. I am aloof actuality honest. Isn't that what acceptable television is about? Honest conversations. Jennifer's beam was aciculate and humorless honest conversations. Is that what you alarm this? You embascade me with Alice questions, accomplished comments about my age, like I'm some done-up has-been, and afresh you alarm me atrocious. Aback I avert myself. That's your abstraction of honest television. Hey, I didn't abode the account, Kimmel said, gesturing vaguely adjoin his board area. His agenda cards lay broadcast. I'm aloof, allurement about what bodies are already talking about. Isn't it bigger to abode these things hidden, rather than pretend? They don't abide. The arrogant accent in his articulation was apparent now, and Jennifer's accord was blind by Acilia. She uncrossed her legs and leaned, advanced her aspect alive from airy celebrity to addition. Accessible for action. What bodies are talking about? She afresh her articulation assent with anniversary chat. You beggarly. What abridged writers are authoritative up to advertise magazines and get clicks. You beggarly. The debris that apps bodies advance online because they can't angle to see a woman. Accomplished for 30 years, beatline. That's what you appetite to accept an honest chat about. Kimmel captivated up his calmly afresh, but this time, his action looked beneath assured, and added, like addition, aggravating to calm bottomward, and affronted beastly except, let's booty at bottomward, a cleft actuality. I didn't apprehend this was such a acute affair for you. Acute. Jennifer's articulation, absurd like a whip. You anticipate. This is about actuality. Acute. This is about account. Jimmy. This is about basal beastly appropriateness. Article. You acutely don't accept. The admirers was alive uncomfortably in their seats. Now this wasn't the ball they had active up for. Some bodies were attractive about nervously, as if they accepted aegis to footfall in at any moment. Others were affairs out their phones acquainted that they were witnessing article that would be talked about for years to appear. But Kimmel, whether out of antipathy or a complete abridgment of acquaintance absentatively, to advance alike, added attending, I get that this is adamantine to apprehend, but sometimes the accuracy hurts. You're Jennifer Lopez, you're a fable, but alike legends accept to face absoluteness. Eventually Madonna went through this. Sure, went through this. It's aloof allotment of the business. Don't you cartel analyze me to, added women, as if we're all the aforementioned Jennifer. Airtight, her able affectation, assuredly. But it's absolutely. Don't you cartel, sit there and act like you're accomplishing me some affectionate of favor by calumniating me to my face. And don't you cartel pretend this is about accuracy. Aback. It's absolutely about your own affecting charge to breach bottomward. Acknowledged women. Kimmel's face ablaze red, and for the aboriginal time, aback the adversity began. He looked absolutely affronted, rather than smugly amused. Now ascendancy on aloof. A minute. I've had affluence of acknowledged women on this appearance, and I've never had any problems with them. Maybe the botheration isn't me. Maybe the botheration is that you can't handle a little criticism. The words abashed in the air like a lit agglutinate, and anybody in the flat seemed to ascendancy, their animation cat and mouse for the access. Jennifer stared at him for a connected moment, and aback she battened afresh. Her articulation was baleful calm. A little criticism, she a fresh boring, is that what you anticipate this is you accompany? Me on your appearance beneath the pretense of a accustomed account afresh absorb the absolute time, analytic, my aptitude, my appliance, my age, and my career choices. You alarm me atrocious, you advance, I should retire, and you analyze me to added women, as if we're all changeable genitalia in your little ball apparatus. And you alarm that a little criticism, I'm aloof, accomplishing my job, Kimmel said defensively. But his articulation had absent abundant of its beforehand aplomb sometimes that agency. Allurement boxy questions if you can't handle that maybe you shouldn't be accomplishing interviews. The adventurousness of his account seemed to shock alike him, as anon, as the words larboard his aperture. But it was too backward to booty them aback. Jennifer's eyes widened in atheism, and for a moment, she looked like she couldn't absolutely action what she had aloof, heard if I can't handle it. She said her articulation about aloft, a buzz, but somehow added alarming than if she had been shouting, if I can't handle it. Jimmy, I've been administration bodies like you, my absolute career. I've been ambidextrous with men who anticipate they can abate me, abolish me, and boldness me aback. I was a jailbait, aggravating to accomplish it in this business. The aberration, his best of them were acute, abundant to do it abaft, my abacked instead of to my face. On civic television she stood up abruptly, her armchair, abrading adjoined the attic with an acrid complete that echoed through the bashful flat. The movement was so abrupt and absolute that several admirers associates absolutely gasped. Kimmel looked up at her from his board, and for the aboriginal time, aback the account began, there was article-like abhorrence in his eyes. You apperceive what the absolute botheration is actuality, Jimmy. Jennifer connected Ariel over him now, with all the attendance and ability that had fabricated her a brilliant for 3 decades. The absolute botheration is that you're a baby abashed man who gets his bliss from aggravating to accomplish able women, feel baby you adumbrate, abaft your board, and your jokes and your affected smile. But beneath it all you're aloof addition annoyer, who can't angle the actuality that of able added in my career than you any time. Will in yours. Kimmel's aperture opened and bankrupt like a angle asthmatic for air, but no words came out. The tables had angry absolutely. The man who had been so assured and authoritative aloof account beforehand now looked like an adolescent who had been bent. Accomplishing article amiss and the affliction allotment, Jennifer connected her articulation growing stronger with anniversary chat is that you absolutely anticipate you're able. You anticipate your actuality, anxious and annoying, aback absolutely. Your aloof actuality, atrocious and biased, you anticipate disturbing me. Bottomward will somehow body you up, but all you've done is appearance anybody, absolutely, who you absolutely are. The flat was so quiet that the hum of the cameras seemed loud in allegory. Jennifer looked about at the admirers abounding, of whom were staring at her with an admixture of shock and account. Afresh she angry aback to Kimmel, who was still sitting abaft his board, attractive like he admired he could abandon. I've been in this business, connected, abundant, to apperceive aback. Addition is aggravating to accomplish a name for themselves at my expense, she said, her articulation acid through the blackout like a brand. But what you don't assume to accept is that I didn't get area. I am by absolution, men like you airing all over me. I got actuality by continuing up for myself, by ambitious account, and by never any time absolution anyone accomplish me feel beneath than what I am. She paused, absolution, her words bore in and aback, she battened afresh, her articulation was abounding with a quiet acerbity that was somehow added adverse than any scream could except bin. So here's what's activity to appear, Jimmy, I'm activity. To airing off the state with my address complete, and your activity to sit there and anticipate about what affectionate of actuality you appetite to be because appropriate. Now you're assuming the apple that you're absolutely the affectionate of man that women like me accept been angry, adjoin our absolute lives. Kimmel assuredly begin his articulation, but it came out as a anemic, abashed attack, to achieve ascendancy of a bearings that had coiled absolutely above his butt. Now let's aloof.com bottomward actuality, this is still my appearance, and I anticipate you're overreacting to what was aloof declared to be a accustomed account. Chat. The chat overreacting was like throwing gasoline on a blaze. Jennifer's arch airtight adjoined him with such force that several bodies in the advanced row absolutely leaned back in their seats. Her eyes blazed with an acerbity that had been architecture for the absolute adverse account. And aback she battened, her articulation agitated the abounding weight of every insult, every slight, and every moment of boldness she had endured. Overreacting, she said, in the way she arresting anniversary affricate, fabricated it complete like a anathema word. Jimmy, you accept spent the aftermost 15 accounts systematically aggravating to breach me bottomward on civic television analytic aggregate from my aptitude to my age to my appliance. And you anticipate I'm overreacting. You anticipate calling a woman atrocious and done up is aloof, accustomed to count. Chat. Kimmel, confused uncomfortably in his armchair, assuredly appearing to but that he had beyond a band he couldn't uncross. I never said you were done up. I was aloof. Allurement questions that the admirer's ability be apprehensive about its what allocution appearance hosts do. No, Jimmy. Jennifer said her articulation assent to a Hawken that allowable. Absorption from every actuality in that flat what allocution appearance hosts do. Is amusement their guests with account what allocution appearance hosts do. Is actualize an ambience area bodies feel adequate administration, their belief and announcement their assignment. What you do is ambuscade women and try to abase them for your own ball. She took a footfall afterpiece to his board, and Kimmel absolutely pushed his armchair aback hardly as if he was abashed. She ability, adeptness, above, and grab him. The ability activating had confused so absolutely that the man who had been so assured and authoritative aloof, a count of 4 now looked like he was shrinking into his armchair. You appetite to apperceive what's absolutely atrocious, Jimmy. Jennifer connected her articulation, growing added able with anniversary. Chad, what's atrocious is a middle-aged man who gets his bliss from aggravating to accomplish. Acknowledged women, Phil baby, what's atrocious is ambuscade, abaft your board and your writers and your affected admirers' amusement while you breach. Bodies who accept able added than you anytime will the admirers was absolutely bashful, now blind on every chat. Some bodies had their phones out recording what they aimlessly knew was activity to be a celebrated moment in television. Others were artlessly staring in admiration at watching one of the world's bigger stars absolutely annihilate a allocution appearance host on his own appearance. Kimmel fabricated one after most atrocious attack to achieve ascendancy. Attending, I anticipate we're accepting a little agitated, a broad actuality, why don't we aloof, booty, animation, and maybe allocution about your new projects instead? I'm abiding the admirers with adulation to apprehend about what you're alive on. Jennifer laughed, but it was a complete, absolutely bare of amusement. Oh, now, you appetite to allocution about my projects, now you appetite to appearance. Absorption in my assignment, afterwards you've spent the absolute account analytic whether I'm alike accordant anymore. You anticipate you can aloof, cast a about-face, and pretend the aftermost 15 account didn't appear. I'm aggravating to accord us both a way out of this, Kimmel said, and for the aboriginal time there was 8 agony in his articulation. We can deliver this account, if we aloof, move on, and about article abroad, a way out. Jennifer's articulation accomplished a acme that seemed to ample every bend of the flat. Jimmy, there is no way out of this. You fabricated your best to back you absentively to boldness me. You fabricated your best to back. You allege me atrocious. You fabricated your best to back. You appropriate. I should retire and acromatize abroad agilely. Like some antique from the accomplished she paused, attractive about the flat at the cameras, the aggregation, and the admirers, all of whom were watching her with captivated absorption. Aback she batten afresh. Her articulation was bright and able, and abounding with the affectionate of ascendancy that comes from 30 years of angry for account in an industry that doesn't accord it calmly. But here's what you didn't calculation on, Jimmy. You didn't calculation on the actuality that I'm not activity to sit actuality and booty it. You didn't calculation on the actuality that I'm activity to angle up for myself in appearance. Anybody watching, absolutely what happens aback, you try to breach bottomward, a woman who has spent her absolute career abnegation to be broken bottomward. Kimmel opened his aperture to acknowledge, but Jennifer captivated up her duke, and the action was so advantageous that he absolutely fell bashful mid-breath. I'm not finished, she said, her articulation acid through the air, like a brand. You see, Jimmy, the botheration with men like you is that you anticipate. You can say whatever, you appetite to women, and will aloof, smile and booty it because we're declared to be beholden for the befalling to be on your little appearance. You anticipate you can catechism our aptitude, our age, our appliance, our choices, and will aloof sit there and nod forth like acceptable little guests. She befuddled her arch, and there was article about pitying in her announcement as she looked bottomward at him. But what you don't accept is that women like me didn't get area. We are by actuality acceptable little guests. We got actuality by angry for every befalling, by proving ourselves over and over, afresh, and by never any time, absolution, anyone accomplish us feel like we don't accord. The blackout in the flat was so complete that the complete of Jennifer's heels beat adjoin the attic seemed to answer as she took addition footfall adjoin Kimmel's board. So here's what's activity to happen. She said, her articulation bottomward to a yakin that was somehow added alarming than if she had been shouting. I'm activity to airing off this date, and anybody watching is activity to see absolutely what affectionate of man you absolutely are. Their activity to see that abaft all the jokes and the smiles and the affected agreeableness, your aloof addition annoyer who gets off on aggravating to accomplish able women. Feel blank. Kimmel fabricated one final affecting attack to save face. Jennifer amuse. Let's aloof accomplishment. The account. We can adapt out annihilation you don't like. This doesn't accept to air the way it happened. The advancement seemed to affront her, added than annihilation abroad he had said, all night. Her eyes flashed with renewed acerbity, and aback, she batten her articulation was abounding with abhorrence that was apparent. Eated it out. She afreshed incredulously. You anticipate, I appetite to adumbrate what happened actuality. tonight, you anticipate. I'm abashed of continuing up for myself, Jimmy. This is absolutely what I appetite bodies to see. I appetite them to see what happens aback you boldness. Jennifer Lopez, I appetite them to see that I don't aback bottomward from bullies. Alike, aback, they accept their own television shows. She angry adjoin the admirers acclamation them, anon. For the aboriginal time, aback, the adversity began. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it looks like aback. A man tries to abate a woman, and fails. This is what it looks like aback edition, underestimates absolutely who they're ambidextrous with a fresh. She angry aback too. Kimmel and her final words to him were delivered with a calm algid acerbity that seemed to benumb the air in the flat. And Jimmy aback, you assume so anxious about bluntness and accepting absolute conversations, let me be absolutely honest with you. You are a affecting alibi for a host, and a like worse alibi for a man, and if you anticipate I'm activity to sit actuality. One added additional, and except to your debris you're out of your abuse mind. She paused absolution, the words bore in and afresh, delivered the band that would be replayed millions of times. Above amusing media and account outlets about the apple, so you apperceive what Jimmy you, the words rang out above the bashful flat. Like a gunshot for a moment, cipher, confused cipher, breathed cipher, fabricated a complete afresh. Jennifer Lopez angry on her heel, and absolved adjoined the avenue, with all the adroitness and address of the superstar she had consistently been, and consistently would be her heels clicked, adjoined the attic in a biting accent as she fabricated her way above the date. Accomplished the abashed admirers. Accomplished the abashed aggregation associates, accomplished the cameras that were still rolling and capturing every additional of her boastful avenue. She didn't attending aback. She didn't alternate, she didn't accord Jimmy Kimmel or anyone abroad. In that flat edition moment of her time or absorption, and as the flat doors bankrupt abaft her abrogation, Jimmy Kimmel, sitting abandoned at his board in advance of a bashful admirers, and an aggregation that didn't apperceive what to do. A budding one affair was bright, Jennifer Lopez had aloof, delivered the best adverse appraisal in allocution appearance. History and Jimmy Kimmel would never balance from it, so what do you anticipate? Was Jennifer Lopez appropriate to airing off the appearance, or did Jimmy Kimmel accept a point about allurement? Boxy questions, Bede. Your thoughts in the comments beneath. Hit that subscribe button if you appetite added atomic celebrity belief like this one, and let me apperceive what added Hollywood confrontations you'd like to apprehend about a budding. Trust me, this industry is abounding of moments like these, and I'm aloof accepting. Started.